Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today we're tackling a question that seems to be on a lot of investors' minds. Is Arista Networks a good time to buy now? We're going to really break down this company, look at its performance, and see what the experts are saying based on the sources we've gathered. But hang on, before we jump right in, if you're finding these analyses valuable, please do hit that subscribe button. Like this show, and maybe leave a comment below with your thoughts. Your support honestly helps us keep bringing you these kinds of discussions. And hey, if you'd like to support us even further, you could consider buying us a coffee. The link's below. Plus, if there's a specific company you're curious about, just drop it in the comments, and we'll definitely add it to our research list.
Yeah, and we've gathered some pretty comprehensive sources for today's discussion. We have a detailed investment outlook on Arista Networks right here. Our goal really is to equip you with the knowledge to understand, the nuances of this stock's potential. We want to move beyond just the headlines and really get into what matters for your investment decisions.
Okay, let's unpack this then. For anyone who might not be super familiar, what exactly is Arista Networks? And what's really driving its, frankly, quite impressive performance right now? Our sources seem to point to some very strong fundamentals.
What's really fascinating here, I think, is that Arista Networks appears fundamentally strong pretty much across the board. We're talking solid, consistent revenue growth, really robust profit margins, which suggests they manage costs well, and good, strong cash flow generation. But the real engine, behind this isn't just general market stuff. It's very specifically driven by the surging demand for its AI-focused networking solutions. It's almost insatiable right now. They're not just selling hardware boxes. They're selling the critical infrastructure for the AI revolution.
Right, and who are these, sophisticated AI networking solutions actually for? It sounds like they're playing in the biggest leagues, targeting a very specific type of customer.
Absolutely. They're supplying that foundational network infrastructure for the major cloud players. The sources specifically mention giants like Microsoft and Meta. And this strategic positioning, it isn't just about having, big names on their client list. It's about their deep integration into these hyperscale cloud and AI data center markets. These are arguably the fastest growing, most critical segments in tech today, so that gives them a huge competitive advantage.
Yeah, that makes sense. And when we talk performance, the numbers for fiscal 2024 really paint a compelling picture of that momentum, don't they? What do those figures tell us?
They really do. Their fiscal 2024 revenue hit $7 billion. Now, that's a 19.5% increase year over year, which is pretty impressive on its own. But even more striking is their net income. That soared up 36.6% to $2.85 billion. This kind of growth, both top and bottom line, it reflects a powerful combination. Strong operational efficiency, meaning they're good at managing their business, and just significant demand-driven growth potential in their core markets. It shows they're not just expanding, but they're expanding very profitably.
Those are definitely eye-catching numbers. But, what truly sets Arista Networks apart in what is a pretty crowded field? What's their unique selling point that lets them keep winning against some very established players?
Yeah, that's a really important question. It gets to their strategic moat, their competitive advantage. And their primary edge lies in their proprietary cloud networking technology, specifically their extensible operating system, or EOS. Now, EOS isn't just proprietary. It's well known for its highly modular architecture. And this allows those hyperscalers, the Microsofts and Metas, to customize and automate their massive data centers with incredible flexibility and efficiency, and crucially, fewer outages. In the AI world, where even milliseconds of downtime can cost millions, that's a massive differentiating advantage.
Fewer outages, right? That's huge.
Exactly. It's a software-defined networking approach that really sets them apart in performance and, importantly, programmability compared to competitors.
Okay, numbers like that are exciting, but it always begs the question, doesn't it? Is all this good news already baked into the stock price? Let's shift gears a bit and talk valuation. How does Arista stack up there? Because sometimes great companies trade at, steep prices.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger valuation picture, Arista Networks does show some elevated metrics. Its trailing price-to-earnings ratio, the PE, is 50.42, and its forward PE, looking ahead, is 45.86.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. And just to give some context, the PE ratio tells you how much investors are willing to pay for each dollar of the company's earnings, past or future. So numbers in the high 40s, low 50s, they are certainly higher than the broader tech industry averages right now.
That definitely sounds high. But our sources seem to suggest these valuations could actually be justified. How do we square that? What's the argument for paying that kind of premium for Arista?
That's the critical point, isn't it? The argument is that these valuations are, well, arguably justified by their exceptionally strong growth prospects and their clear market leadership in these really critical high-growth areas like AI and cloud data centers. You can think of it like paying a premium for a top-tier growth stock. The market's betting on continued strong expansion.
So it's pricing in future growth.
Exactly. Now, our sources didn't give us a detailed discounted cash flow analysis, but the general feeling is Arista is priced for that sustained, significant growth, not for deep value. However, it is worth noting the 12-month consensus target price is around $114.62, which is actually slightly below its recent trading price, which has been nearer $117 to $120.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that suggests maybe moderate near-term downside risk or perhaps just sideways trading. Analysts on average seem to think the stock is currently trading at or maybe slightly above its fair value for the next year. That limits the obvious significant near-term upside unless, some new catalyst emerges.
Okay, so beyond the fundamentals and the valuation puzzle, what does the stock's actual behavior, the technical side, tell us about how it's being traded? What's the chart saying?
Well, technically speaking, Arista Networks has shown really strong bullish momentum over quite an extended period. We've seen pretty consistent positive price action, which usually indicates that buyers are in control. Even with a minor pullback recently, the underlying trend seems quite healthy and driven by that demand we talked about.
Are there any specific technical indicators that maybe confirm this strength or give us clues about potential future moves?
Yeah, there are a few key indicators that seem to support the idea of a continued overall uptrend, again, really bolstered by that powerful demand from AI investments. Its 50-day moving average is around 101.1 Lars. That's well below the current price, which clearly indicates short-term strength and momentum.
Okay.
The 200-day average, which is more of a long-term trend indicator, that's up at $152. Now, that could suggest longer-term potential resistance, meaning that's a price level where the stock has historically faced selling pressure.
A potential ceiling, maybe?
Could be, yeah. It's a hurdle to watch if it gets up there. Then you have the Relative Strength Index, the RSI. It's moderate, around 58. For listeners, RSI measures price movement speed and change. Around 58 means it's not immediately considered overbought, so there might still be room for upward movement before it gets, extended.
Right.
And finally, volatility is moderately high at 8.2%, but that's actually pretty typical for a growth tech stock like this. You should expect some price swings.
Got it. So moving beyond the numbers and the charts, what's the general vibe? What's the market sentiment around Arista Networks right now? Is it mostly positive or are people getting nervous?
Sentiment seems generally quite positive, actually. Recent news highlights a lot of anticipation for strong Q2 2025 results, and investors seem keenly focused on the upcoming Q3 and full-year guidance for clues about future growth. They want confirmation the story continues.
Makes sense.
Analysts overwhelmingly rate Arista Networks as a strong buy. That view is primarily driven by that positive earnings outlook, really fueled by the AI networking demand. It's like the market sees Arista as a clear winner in this whole AI explosion. Now, while insider trading and hedge fund activities have been noted, we haven't really seen any significant negative red flags pop up from those areas. That suggests, those with perhaps the most insight or significant capital aren't showing immediate concern. Though, it is worth mentioning, the broader market fear index does suggest some general caution among traders, which is important context.
Okay. And looking ahead, what are the big events or potential developments on the horizon that could act as catalysts? Things that could really move the stock?
Well, the big one coming up is their earnings report, due around August 5th, 2025. It's widely expected to confirm robust revenue and EPS beats. Strong earnings are often an immediate positive catalyst.
Always a big day.
Always. Beyond that, there's always potential for new product announcements or service expansions, maybe specifically tailored to AI networking. New partnerships could also be a factor. And then you have the macro drivers, like ongoing global cloud infrastructure investment and just the accelerating adoption of AI across industries. These support the long-term growth story. However, a risk to keep an eye on is near-term market sensitivity. If guidance gets trimmed even slightly, investors could react quite negatively, especially given that current valuation.
That makes sense. It sounds like a very compelling growth story, and it's easy to get excited. But, as we always say, every investment has challenges and risks. What are the potential headwinds or pitfalls highlighted in our sources that you think listeners really need to be aware of?
Yeah, this raises a really important point about the potential risks. They deserve careful thought. The primary concern, as we've kind of touched on, is that high valuation premium. This isn't just an abstract number. It means the stock could be highly sensitive, prone to significant volatility if growth unexpectedly slows down or if future guidance disappoints.
Less room for error.
Exactly. Less margin for error. Then there are sector-related challenges. Things like potential semiconductor supply chain issues could impact their ability to get critical parts for their hardware, and of course, competition. While Arista's EOS is a strong differentiator, you can't ignore rivals like Cisco. Cisco has a vast installed base, and they're pushing hard with their Nexus line. They're formidable.
Right.
We also sometimes see the hyperscalers themselves exploring their own in-house networking solutions. That could be a long-term competitive threat to Arista's growth if those big customers decide to bring more development in-house.
Interesting point. And speaking of volatility, you mentioned it's moderately high. Is Arista a particularly volatile stock compared to the overall market?
Yes, its beta is 1.37, which indicates above average volatility. So for listeners, a beta of 1.37 basically means, theoretically, for every 1% move in the broader market, Arista tends to move about 1.37%.
So it exaggerates market moves.
It can amplify short-term price swings, both up and down, compared to the market average. So higher potential gains, but also higher potential losses in short periods. However, liquidity is generally good. It's a large company with healthy daily trading volume, so you can typically buy and sell shares without significantly moving the price yourself.
Okay, so let's try and bring this all together then. Integrating everything, the fundamental strengths, the growth potential, that valuation context, the technical picture, market sentiment. What's the overall assessment? What's the rating for Arista as an investment opportunity right now?
Based on the sources we've looked at, the overall assessment for Arista Networks comes in at a 7.5 out of 10.
7.5.
Mm.
Okay, that's pretty strong.
It is a strong rating, yeah, but it reflects a sort of nuanced perspective.
And what's the thinking behind that specific score? What pushes it up to 7.5 and what maybe holds it back from being, say, a 9 or a 10?
Well, the strong fundamentals and those really powerful growth prospects, especially driven by that undeniable AI networking demand that certainly justifies a positive outlook. They are a leader in a critical high-growth niche.
Right.
However, that elevated valuation we discussed, combined with the near-term event risk, like the upcoming earnings report, well, any disappointment there could be severely punished. That suggests moderate caution is warranted. So it's a great company, great space, but the current price already reflects a lot of that promise.
Okay, that makes sense. So given this complex picture, strong growth but high valuation and volatility, what kind of investor is Arista really best suited for? Is this a stock for just anyone's portfolio?
It's definitely more favorable for long-term investors, specifically those who are focused on those big transformative AI and cloud growth themes. And importantly, investors who can tolerate some volatility in their portfolio. You need to be prepared for those short-term price swings typical of high-growth tech.
Not for the faint of heart, then.
Not necessarily, no. That said, it also offers potential short-term trading opportunities, maybe around earnings or other catalysts, but that definitely comes with higher risk, precisely because of its volatility. It's not a stock for someone seeking immediate, stable returns.
Right. For those investors, long-term or perhaps even short-term traders who are looking to make a move, is there a suggested entry price range that our sources point to as maybe being reasonable?
Yeah, based on the analysis and the sources, an entry price range of about 110 to 115 seems reasonable. That range is near the current analyst target levels we mentioned, and also near some recent technical support zones. The idea is to try and balance the current valuation with the potential upside, finding a bit of a sweet spot.
Okay, $110 to $115 is a potential zone. And for anyone considering a trade, what about managing risk? Any guidance on setting stop losses or taking profits with a stock as dynamic as Arista?
Yeah, for trading guidance, given that volatility, considering a stop loss around 8% to 10% below your entry price is probably wise, maybe somewhere in the $100, $105 range, depending on your entry. This is really crucial for limiting downside risk if the market suddenly moves against you. Protect your capital.
Essential for volatile stocks.
Absolutely. And for taking profits. Maybe consider partial profit taking if the price moves above $130. That's near its 52-week high zone. This lets you lock in some gains while still potentially participating if it keeps running higher. But the key thing is always monitor those earnings developments closely. They are the biggest short-term drivers for a stock like this.
Absolutely. So wrapping up, what does this all mean for you, the investor listening right now? Arista Networks clearly presents a really compelling case for growth, doesn't it? It's driven by these undeniable accelerating trends in AI and cloud infrastructure. But as with all these high growth stories, understanding that delicate balance between the incredible potential and the inherent risks, especially around valuation, is absolutely key.
Exactly. Remember, even with fantastic fundamentals and clear market leadership, high valuations mean the stock is much more sensitive. Sensitive to market news, economic shifts, and particularly company guidance. This really underscores the importance of not just what you choose to invest in, but also when you choose to buy it. And perhaps most crucially, how you actively manage that investment over time. It's not just about picking a winner, it's about navigating the journey with that winner.
Well said. It's really about leveraging these powerful technological trends that are genuinely reshaping our world while keeping a sharp eye on those fundamental details, valuation, risk management that define smart, disciplined investing. So what stands out to you from our discussion today? Maybe take a moment to consider how companies like Arista Networks aren't just, selling boxes. They're fundamentally reshaping the future of technology infrastructure. And what might that mean for your own investment strategy as we look ahead?
Yeah, the ongoing expansion of cloud infrastructure, the acceleration of AI adoption, it all suggests a pretty significant runway for companies positioned like Arista Networks. But at the end of the day, discerning the right entry and exit points, managing that risk, that remains absolutely crucial for navigating this dynamic and, frankly, quite exhilarating market.